This year's Computex coverage is sponsored by Corsair.
I am finally home from Computex, but my story hasn't ended just yet, as it's time to talk about monitors, everybody's favourite topics, and of course the displays that will be gracing your desk later this year. There's quite a lot to talk about, and our journey begins at the MSI booth. MSI are definitely getting quite serious with their monitor lineup, and the new Oculus NXG251 240Hz display certainly hopes to prove this, with a super fast refresh rate, a 0.5 millisecond response time, and Gsync technology for reduced stutter and tearing. This 1080p monitor is going to be perfect for esports. Drawing the largest crowd, however, was the new behemoth 49-inch Optix MAG491C, which is not only huge, but superbly responsive too, with a 144Hz refresh rate and AMD FreeSync technology. MSI say it's ideal for racing games, but with 100% of the sRGB color space covered, it will look great across the board. It does use the same 3840 by 1080 resolution as its Samsung rival though, so it's comparable to two 1080p monitors sandwiched together, so it's not superbly sharp. Speaking of super ultra-wide monitors though, Asus were also keen to throw their hat into the ring with their new super ultra mega epic mega wide display. It's called the VG49V and it sports a very similar design to something like the PG348Q. Like the MSI rival, it comes with a 3840 by 1080 resolution and FreeSync tech, but Asus are quick to tout the extreme low motion blur tech, which strobes the backlight to reduce ghosting for a smoother looking image with reduced trailing and ghosting. Something else that grabbed my attention was the Asus CG32, a 4K 60Hz HDR display that's very much aimed at console gamers. It's a very good looking monitor with a wide colour gamut that can display up to 95% of DCI-P3. Its V8 panel also supports adaptive sync, but the headline feature here is the HDR tech, with VISA HDR 600 certification. This means that the panel can get very bright thanks to the zone dimming, but also very dark. And while it's not the highest level of HDR out there, it's definitely a clear step up versus your average HDR display. Creative professionals will also be thankful of the two newly announced ProArt monitors. The first is the Asus ProArt PA34V, a 34-inch ultrawide. It can display 100% of sRGB and comes pre-calibrated for out-of-the-box accuracy. It will happily work with your Thunderbolt laptop, but thanks to the 100Hz Adaptive Sync IPS panel, it will also likely be a hit with gamers. Lastly, we have the Asus ProArt PA32UX, a mini LED backlit monitor. This is still looking a little bit prototype in nature, but the smaller LEDs lighting the display result in more dimming zones for more accurate HDR with less blooming effects. It will also provide a higher peak luminance, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this hit VISA's 1000 standard of HDR when it's released. So that's a taste of things to come, but if you are in the market for a new monitor this year, what should you be looking out for? Well, my main bit of advice is that while the buzzword is definitely HDR, at the moment the monitors are very much in the stage of getting there, and as the games are also getting there, it's not really something I would worry a huge amount about. VISA's HDR standards are still very new, and these will be the clear way for you to pick an excellent HDR monitor rather than just trust the keyword in the title. HDR 600 and 1000 are clearly your best bets, though Nvidia's G-Sync 2 monitors are also at the top of the game. 4K monitors are getting cheaper too, and if you have a decent budget, they're definitely worth the investment. For me though, it's still ultrawide that's my favourite, so it's great to see more and more coming out, including the 200Hz HDR PG34VQ. That is a very exciting prospect indeed. Is there a certain monitor that you're waiting for, a technology, or just prices to be reduced? Let me know down in the comment section below, as it always helps shape future content on this channel, and if there's something you want me to look at, that's your best way of getting it across. If you've enjoyed this video though, hit the like button, and if you want to see more Computex coverage, you can find my playlist in the top right hand corner, and of course in the end screen. A massive thank you for Corsair for actually sponsoring this year's coverage, and don't forget to get subscribed for more content just like this coming in the future. But once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
I'm gonna use this in the video, by the way.
It won't turn out.